And again, typically when our code enforcement officers are out, if they find a vacant structure that's starting to show signs of not being kept up, they will post it automatically. It's not an unsafe structure posting, but it's a posting that says, do not reoccupy the structure prior to contacting the building department. So we just kind of take those on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
The third clarification, under site plan, page 10F, we added, when we're talking about site plan and what needed to be included, we added the sentence, existing grades within a 50-foot radius. One thing that I would like to do, I was reviewing the new county stormwater management ordinance yesterday, and they have a requirement in there that calls for a 100-foot radius. So I will double check on that before we would bring this back to council. That is probably a change I would want to make, though, so it's consistent with the county ordinance.
Alderman Woods?
Yeah, just a question for you. You don't necessarily have to answer it now, but because you're going to do the 50 or check the 100-foot. But where are we going to take that 50-foot dimension or 100-foot dimension from? Is that the perimeter lot line from the center of the lot, the edge of the house? I mean, that now becomes a large undertaking to survey and do topographical. I mean, that's going to cover 3, 4, maybe 6 lots, almost completely.
I agree to all those comments. It does, but again, it is part of the DuPage County Stormwater Management Ordinance, so we really don't have much choice but to go with that. And from our past experience, that typically means from the perimeters of the lot you measure over. I wouldn't necessarily, I think the city engineer, I know our department would accept, unless there was a really odd topography out there, probably just spot elevations on these surrounding properties, and then as you get closer to the subject property, they could start adding the contour lines. I think
Okay.
that would be acceptable.
Alderman Eugene Wesley?
Back to that stormwater ordinance, maybe someone could refresh my memory. Even though they passed, the Page County passes stormwater ordinance, we could override the Page County stormwater ordinance at some point and put our own teeth into it. Am I right? So, yes,
It's my understanding that we can only go stricter, we can't go less lenient.
okay.
Okay, next item?
Okay, next item, page 28A2, and that's where we talk about a new section in our local code that we felt was important to put in there, and that was the section about any structures utilizing trusses with stamp plate connectors. If you remember, we went over those. Those are the kind of plates that are just kind of little teeth about 1/4 of an inch long that are pressed by a press into these pre-built trusses on site. And we are requiring all buildings in the city, new buildings that use these type of construction materials, to have a permanent sign on the outside of the building, so that when the firemen are responding to an incident there, they know that this building has this type of structural framing, and they might choose not to go up on the roof, because it's, you know, these types of construction, although they are approved and accepted, they're a lot more susceptible to collapse under a fire condition. So a lot of communities are doing this. What we did was we went back after the discussion at an earlier committee, and we went back and put existing structures that use that also have to go back and put these placards on the building, as opposed to just starting now with the new buildings that are using it. So I think that was a good suggestion. So we put that in there. Page 29B is the section that contained the brick ordinance. And again, after discussion, it was decided that rather than on single-family residences, rather than require them to have certain requirements for minimum brick or masonry materials, we put in the phrase certain specified materials. And then as you go down and look in the sub-uses and different types of buildings, page 29B1, the phrase 3 different exterior wall finishes on all exterior walls. That's the new phrase that we put in there, as opposed to requiring brick or stone. So again, this is what came up in discussion and what was decided on. So we're just putting that in there. Page 30, section 12.401B. That refers to the section where it's a new requirement that we're going to have in residential occupancy group when there's a substantial remodel done to a house or a new structure to put the grab bars in the shower and bathtub areas. And as you recall, there's a big push on for the fire sprinklers and the smoke detectors, which we agree with to a certain extent. As you remember, we've revised that. And that's due to the fact that there are 3,000 fire deaths a year approximately. Well, as you remember, the other figure we came up with is that people slipping and falling in their home, typically in the bathroom, there are 27,000 deaths a year. So that's why we decided to put this grab bar requirement in bathrooms, and we did add in here and remodeled bathrooms. We did not have that in the original phrase. It was just new bathrooms.
Alderman, please. I'm sorry, Mayor, please. Keep on slipping.
John, with the grab bars, so are you saying if somebody's taking out their tiling and redoing the tiling, they have to put in the grab bars? Or what do we call substantial remodeling? Taking out the tub, the shower?
Usually taking out the fixtures and replacing them, yeah.
Okay,
Or
but
if they're
if-
gonna, take out walls and redo the floor plan in there or something, that would be considered a substantial.
But if somebody's got a bunch of cracked tile, they wanna change them, or linoleum floor, whatever they got, they can do
No, I
that.
wouldn't
and-
consider that, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, not that
Alderman
it's a bad idea. I mean, I think it's a good idea, but where did you come up with the idea, just from that statistic? Or is this a code in any of the other code sources?
Some of the other municipalities are requiring this, but no, that was a statistic that, actually I got from talking to one of the national code consultants that I know and, refer to him for certain code questions. We were talking about the sprinkler and the requirements due to the 3,000 fire deaths a year, and he kind of chuckled and said, well, there's 27,000 deaths a year of people slipping and falling, most of those in the bathroom, and people don't think to make grab bars be a requirement. So it seemed like a good
So
idea.
given that wonderful statistic and Mayor Police's question, so if somebody's gonna just even tile the three walls of the bathroom, would be an opportune time to put that.
Well, typically, and again, even in this code, I mean, if you're doing less than 25% of the value to a space of a remodel or something, you're just allowed to keep it as is. If you go above 25% at that point, then it becomes at the discretion of the building official what life safety things you might make them install.
Okay, next item.
Next item, page 31, section 405A. Let's see, where's that? We're talking about the footing drain tile discharge, which kind of ties into the situation we had a little earlier today with every drop of water in the world that seems to fall being discharged down our storm sewers. What we're putting on that sump pump discharge to and be directly connected to a 4-inch underground rigid pipe in cases where the storm sewer is designed to accept this discharge. Any other termination shall comply with the City of Wooddale Stormwater Management Ordinance. Again, the new trend in stormwater is to not run every single thing to the storm sewer. So that's a slight change from what we had in there earlier. Page 46 is a revision in the fire code, section F 6109-10, where we clarified prohibiting any interior storage of liquid propane other than what the code would allow for retail sales, such as the small bottles for tools and small torches that you would find at a hardware store or lumber yard. Other than that, any liquid propane tanks, be them for industrial processes or for forklift trucks, any spare cans have to be kept in the exterior of the building.
Okay. For the updates and revisions proposed, is it your intent to have this go to City Council on September 6th?
Yes.
And then the two items that I have that we're going to work on still the definition of established sod and 7.5B and 10F, 100-foot radius versus 50-foot radius, that would be included in at city council?
Correct.
Okay, then you're looking for a motion to accept the recommendation as the changes we've discussed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion does carry. And Mr. Forrest, thank you for your work on this and carrying the project through. We're almost done with it, right?
Thank you.
Okay. Next item, items for future meetings. Any other items currently? Alderman Eugene Wesley?
Do you have an update on the Wooddale Station? What's going on with that? And then, I don't know, Ethan Woods probably falls under you too, so.
And those updates are already prepared. They'll be in your packet tomorrow.
Any other items? I make a motion to adjourn. Oh, Mr. Forrest?
I just would like to make one quick comment. In all the years that I've been here, the building department has always had an ISO rating of a 5. About a year ago, when we were evaluated again, they were threatening to lower our rating, mainly because of the building code that we were still following was the 2003. So I just want you to know that you as the council adopting the 2012 ICC code, and with a couple of other small administrative changes we made, ISO has reclassified the building department to a 4. So we actually got a better rating from the 5 because you guys adopted the 2012 code. So good
Thank you.
job.
Good, and same to you. Thank you. I make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
we're adjourned. So next is Finance and Administration Committee.
I'd call the Finance and Administration Committee of order. First item is a roll call. It should be with the minute taker, please show the same people here. Next item is approval of minutes of August 23rd, no, meeting of July 12th, pardon me. I make that motion. Does anybody want to make a second?
Second.
Do we, everybody can go along with it? Ayes? Aye. Negative? No. Passes.
Passes.
Okay, just one item tonight, really, and it's related to the treasurer's position. There's 3 issues that we should need to cover. Number 1, the current treasurer is resigning. As of when?
The email that we received said August 31st.
August 31st. The second part is what are the current duties of the treasurer and what should they be? The current duties now, as I understand it, is that she signs the checks for payment and she signs off on a report that is written by the auditor. She doesn't write the report or anything else. She doesn't even have to read it. Does she have any oversight to the finance department at all?
None that I'm readily aware of.
So her position is strictly signing checks and signing that report?
Correct.
What are the qualifications for that position, by the way?
If I'm
Are there
not-
any
I say if
qualifications?
I'm not mistaken, and I don't want to oversimplify the answer here, but my understanding is that they get enough people to sign their petition to give to the DuPage County Election Board.
In other words, they have to be a Wooddale resident.
Correct, yes.
That is the only deciding factor. And they have to be elected.
That I'm aware of, correct.
Okay. Does the city want to place a referendum question on the April ballot to either eliminate the treasurer as an elected position, and the treasurer would still exist, but it would be an appointed position? Do we want to place a referendum on the April ballot, eliminating the treasurer's position, which we've already lowered the wage to $2,000 a year, if I'm not mistaken, and she comes in once every 2 weeks and signs the checks if you don't have finance chairman around, right?
Historically, well, since I've been here, it's been the treasurer and the finance chairman that has signed the checks over $5,000.
How many other communities do you have treasurers that are elected?
In the survey that I did that was attached, I believe I had 44 communities on there, and 5, including us, have elected treasurers. One of the other ones is Itasca, and they do not have a finance director. West Chicago voted to eliminate the treasurer's position, so when his term is up in April, it will no longer be an elected position. And the only other one that I had any information on was Warrenville. And they don't even list that person as an elected official on their website. I guess they just don't have the heart to
So
not.
it sounds like there's
so.
really no duties per se, except to come in once every 2 weeks if she has time or he has time to sign the checks. Is that correct? And to sign that one report that she doesn't write and really doesn't even have to read.
Currently, that is
That
correct.
sums it up.
Correct.
Okay, I'll make a motion then that we do place a referendum question on the April ballot to eliminate the treasurer as an elected position in Wooddale. Do I have a second?
I'm going to second it to get the discussion on the table.
Mr. Director.
Just wanted to, before we get too far into the weeds on this, just wanted to clarify 2 quick things. And this is after speaking to Attorney Bond earlier in the week. So in the memo, we said the mayor had to appoint somebody at the next council meeting. Attorney Bond has instructed us that he has 60 days to appoint someone. So he actually has until the second council meeting in October to do so. And additionally, since she resigned more than 28 months before the end of the term, there's going to have to be a special election in April to fill the unexpired term of the treasurer. So the mayor, by the end of October, will have to, with the advice and consent of the council, of course, appoint someone who will then, I guess theoretically, have to run for re-election of that spot, or if no one were to run, then he would have to appoint somebody to that vacancy at that time. So just a little bit of a minor tweak. And should there be a measure put on the ballot to eliminate the position in April, the position would still be in effect as an elected official until the end of its natural term in 2015.
2015.
Correct.
Okay, I think your first part here about September 6th, I think with such an important position, the mayor should make the appointment ASAP, I mean, quickly. I mean, my gosh, what if nobody's here to sign the checks? Then I'd have to do it, or Roy would have to do it, or you'd have to do it, I guess. So we should really act fast on it. Do we have any comments, any questions? Alderman Woods, please.
Yeah, in your motion, you said you're going to take it from an elected position to an appointed position. Appointed being a separate person outside of staff, or the second person is a staff member and will also have the additional duties of the treasurer?
Good question. How would you answer that, Mr. Director?
Currently, the way the city code is written is it could not be a staff member as the code is currently constructed. That being said, you may have noticed in one of the pages that I handed out, there's a number of communities that do have a staff member as the treasurer. They've gone through and updated their code to reflect that somebody on staff would be in a position to fulfill those duties. So as the code currently sits, it would have to be a resident of Wooddale, non-staff. But if the decision were to want to have somebody on staff fill that role, which effectively at that point, it would just be to sign the one report a year. We wouldn't, we'd still delegate the check signing over 5,000 to the chair and probably the vice chair at that point. So just be signing that one report that our accounting software produces on its own recognizance anyway, so.
So in 2015, we can make that decision, can't we? And change the ordinance? As long as we can't change it now, it'd have to wait. The referendum is just for 2015. We wouldn't have to state now that it'd be appointed from staff or from the community. We can make that decision farther up the line?
Correct.
Okay. Any other comments? Mr. Alderman Woods again, please.
Yeah, my first comment is on your comment of what the qualifications are and if you get enough residents to vote for you. So now we'll dwindle that down to the mayor just picking somebody out. So you tell me which one's a better avenue. Second of all, that position's elected because those people want somebody they know to have some say or to look over what's going on. The fact that her duties have been dwindled down to next to nothing is more a product of time and expedience, let's say, than it is of actual law or reality. I understand what you're saying, and if we use the same argument, then the new battle cry is out there. I saw in the paper a couple communities are looking to go to appointing the city clerks too, so maybe we don't need to elect them either. So we might want to look at that as part of Alderman Shockey's motion, and we could do everything at one time and we don't have to waste any time going back and forth with these. As you can tell, I'm not in favor of eliminating the position. Thank you.
Alderman Sizmarsky.
I'm on the same wavelength as Alderman Woods, who dictated, I mean, for years we've had a treasurer. How come all of a sudden the treasurer doesn't have a job? I mean, who took all the initiative away and took all their jobs away?
I think there was a memo by an alderman back in 1989 that stated that they should eliminate the position because there were really no responsibilities, no qualifications, and they didn't do it at the time. They gave us time to think about it. So we've been thinking about it since 1989, is it? I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was included in the packet. It was from the former and late finance director Ralph Stevens in 1992.
92, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so 20 years ago, he stated the only responsibilities the treasurer had were to sign checks and file the report, and that was 20 years ago.
And we do have an auditor's report each year.
Correct.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I just think the position should stay because it is a second pair of eyes to watch over what staff and anybody else is doing, and it is also a part of the structure of our government, local government in this town.
You know, if that's the idea we want to go with, then we probably should change the ordinance to put in, number one, qualifications to run for treasurer, and number two, the duties, and find duties for that individual, as long as we're paying them money. Would that be a better idea? Alderman Winger?
I'm in agreement with you, Alderman Shockey, that, you know, part of the treasurer previously was to be on the police pension board, and the most recent treasurer is not. And perhaps she declined, correct? So that to me was an important role in the process. So whatever requirements we want, perhaps we can get the input of Attorney Bond as well to figure out what can we legally put in there as a role and responsibility to represent the citizens of Wooddale. And we do have, well, I know we don't have 2.5 years to go out to referendum. Perhaps we don't have to go out for referendum on this go-round, because we have the treasurer position, it sounds like, for at least till 2015. So, and then having a newly treasurer appointed, that may help us to form these roles and responsibilities with that individual and to build the position whether we want it or not. So I think that there could be some opportunity to look at over time, do we keep the position or not? Is the treasurer going to be on the pension board? I would say yes, that's a requirement. It's a requirement to take the classes to learn how to do that position. Thank you.
So we've had 20 years, but you're saying we need 3 more. Is that
Well-
basically what it is?
I'm under the understanding that we're going to have 2.5 years left, no matter what. And do we really need to have for referendum now until we see how we develop the position?
Mr. Mayor?
Brad, if I understand correctly, if you don't go to referendum in April and you go in 2015, then basically the position's another 4 years, because you won't be able to, you can't put it on the referendum on 2015 to get rid of it and then have an election, because whoever gets elected will be on for 4 years, if I understood the attorney when he explained it to me.
I believe that's correct, isn't it?
Yeah, I would have to double check with Attorney Bond on that because I don't want to misspeak on that.
No, and we had a quick discussion on our break. The treasurer, I know it's been diminished and whatnot, so do we want another set of eyes? That's the key question, because let's face it, we don't want what happened in Dixon, where $30 million disappeared by the controller because nobody's watching. Now, in our case here, the treasurer is really not. So, the question is, what do you want to really do with this position?
Right.
Because the auditors now, we have the same auditing firm. We renewed them for another 3 years, but I think they changed teams who's coming in here. Should we have not approved that second 3-year contract and got a different firm in here, so everybody's philosophy is nobody wants anybody to become buddy-buddy, and money starts to disappear. I think that's everybody's fear. Just because you keep, every time you turn on the TV, it's 30 million here, 10 million there. That's all I gotta say.
Personally, I don't, did somebody else have a comment? Oh, Alderman Woods, please.
Thank you. Where to begin? Again, to echo what the mayor said, Dixon, DuPage Water Commission, DuPage Housing Authority, every time you turn around, it's 10 million, 20 million, $30 million. I understand the argument she's not doing anything, so she wouldn't catch it anyway, which goes back to my statement that, the position's been dwindled down one way or another. Certainly there's things that she can do and should be doing by city code and by state statute. Off the top of my head, I don't know what they are, but I'm willing to look them all up for you, along with some federal regulations. And to address what Alderman Shockey said and Alderman Winger chimed in, that, yeah, I think that we should keep the position, and when we keep it, we should have a list of duties or at least responsibilities. I don't know how far you can go with what qualifications, but certainly there should be some expectation of the person. And again, if that's getting them training, I know one of the things they're supposed to keep an eye on investments and stuff like that, that's the better avenue to go. I just don't understand the rush to eliminate that person in an effort to save $2,000 or $5,000. I would fortify the position to make it what it should be. Thank you.
Actually, I do agree with you. We're talking about a lousy $2,000 when in the next committee, we're talking about spending $84,000 for something I think is just as unreasonable. So I really don't care. I mean, 2,000 here, 2,000 there, with all the money we're spending, that's a drop in a bucket. So why not keep her? I don't care. Who would like to make the motion? Did I make the motion already? And I have a second. Well, let's vote on that first. Would, The motion was to have a referendum in the April ballot to eliminate the treasurer as an elected position. And would you call roll on that, please?
Alderman Roy Wesley,
No.
Alderman Coles,
Yes.
Alderman Shockey,
Yes?
Alderman Sismarski, Alderman Eugene Wesley, Alderman Winger,
No.
Alderman Woods.
No.
My next thing then would be for a future meeting to have staff come back and tell us what the duties of the treasurer should be so we can have a new ordinance with some teeth in it or some substance to it, rather than a nebulous cloud of nothing. Yes, sir?
Do we have any money to send this person to classes?
You don't have the money?
No. That's going to be part of the conversation then is, I'm going to need to allocate money to send this person to classes.
What kind,
To get
well, I'm sure
them-
we would. We
get
would have
them-
to.
I don't know, maybe a computer,
That
an
would be the
iPad,
next
like you-
budget,
Next, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Petty cash. Yeah, it is petty cash. So if you can put that on the agenda for, what would you say, October? Think that's doable? No?
Oh.
November, December, what?
Yeah, October's fine. Yeah.
Well, I would like to have us take up this idea in the near future, whenever it is available, whenever you can come up with some guidelines to what the treasurer should be doing. If we're gonna pay her, we may as well have her do something. Any other items to be considered at future meetings? Yes, sir.
Just had one more quote. What are we doing in the interim until then? Is it gonna be filled?
Mr. Mayor.
Basically, the attorney says we have to appoint somebody. Brad said October, I thought it was the second meeting in September, at the latest, or I could do it in 2 weeks.
Attorney Bond said 60 days. So
Oh.
the resignation is August 31st. That would give you until the end of October.
So you'll do it by when?
Well, I mentioned to a few of you already that in a conversation that started tonight, somebody's willing to do it. So,
So we'll have somebody soon.
right.
All right, that's good, important. Okay, there's no other items, then I'll ask to adjourn the Finance and Administration Committee of August 23rd. Do I have a motion, or do I have a second? Everybody in favor?
Aye.
I do too, so thank you.
All right, Public Health and Safety Judicial Committee. Roll call, everybody's here from last time. I make a motion on the minutes meetings of July 12, 2012. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any questions? Passed. All right. Report and recommendations for contract award to M&M Lock in the not to succeed the amount of $84,400 for an installation of an electronic assessment system for City Hall. I'm making a motion. Questions? And, okay. Go ahead.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick questions. What is the cost of the main unit for this, and what is the cost for each door?
The cost of this, the main unit, the units are at at different locations throughout the city. It would be based off the central network, our central server room. The approximate cost for doors is about $1,300. When this initially came out, we thought it was going to be closer to $1,500 a door. When the bids did come back, it was a less per door amount than we originally thought it was going to be.
So it's how much a door then?
Approximately $1,300 per door.
$1,300. I think this would have been a lot easier to come across if we had certain doors that you thought, that the manager thought and the police chief thought were necessary to have this higher security. I mean, we already have locks on the doors and the punching the keys and changing the numbers every so often and everything. And I'm just, as I said on the phone, I was wondering where that crown jewels was that the manager must be wearing.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we're
now,
hiding
and
it
some
somewhere.
background to this, back when the CIP was developed as a means of looking for upgrading and improving physical plants, facilities, all departments were asked to come up with different ways. This is one of the ones that the police department actually suggested, but we look at doing it citywide. There are currently locks on every doors. My keys will work fine tomorrow, whether this passes or not. It's an upgrade to the current system that we have, all onto one system. We have keypad codes, we have keys, we have some that are controlled electronically by the police desk. Some people under their desks have controls. This would put it onto one complete system. It's just similar. It's an upgrade. It is a want. It's not gonna.
It's not a need.
No, and I guess similar to moving on to voicemail from paper. Things work now, and I'm not going to say that they don't. We're not going to save money by doing this. That's not the argument at all. This is an upgrade to the physical plant. I'm guessing we're going to be in this building for the next 15 to 20 years. I believe that would take us through to that spot. It does allow for more, better security as far as access to certain buildings, whereas, not buildings, but offices, you can tailor it per specific person. You can also log who enters that office. If we have an area of the building that is secured, such as, let's say, the City Hall side, if between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. that's entered, we could set it up that it could email the dispatch center to say, someone just entered the City Hall side. Do we want to go check that out? So there are some capabilities to it. It's an upgrade. That's all it is. It's not an absolute need to keep us functioning. It's an upgrade and something that was identified as a way to improve the physical plant around here.
If we had excessive money and weren't spending so much on so many other things, I'd say great. But with the economy as it is, I don't think it's a good idea. Thank you.
Anybody else got any questions? Mr. Woods? Okay, I'll see-
Can you
okay.
give me a better overview of it? What are they putting on the door for $1,300? They got to wire each door. There's a card pad. It's all tied into a central computer. It's gonna log everybody going in and out of their offices.
Yeah, what this would be is in the main server room downstairs in the training room, a rack would be put in as part of our current rack system that would run the centralized system. It's centrally controlled. Admin rights would be given to whoever that was chosen to be given to. What that would do is they will wire each door then. For every 8 doors, there is a central control panel that they would locate as part of the construction. They came out and did a pre-bid meeting where they were able to tour the facility and know what would have to be done. Each door would be then tied in back to the central server through, 8 would go into one thing, and then that would be tied back to the server. And it would log who enters an office, who enters an exterior door. There's no problems that I'm aware of that we need to monitor what this person is doing when they're coming in the building. But if that ever is needed, those actions will be easily able to be traced. When did they come in the door? When did they not? It's not addressing a particular need that people are skirting the system or anything like that, but it does add another level that if that ever comes into question, those records can be retrieved.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody, Roy?
Chief, you counted 60 doors? How many? 61?
61 doors.
Have you, what's the main doors? How many main doors are there, like the building department, the city manager's office, the finance office?
Well, for example, in the finance department, I'll just give for them because in the police department there's 30 doors. In the finance department, there's the main entrance door, the director's office, the file room that has the safe in it, the conference door to the hallway, and the accountant's office. That would be 5 doors that would be controlled by this key fob system, which are card readers. Key fobs, that not slide cards, but as you put the reader next to the thing, it would grant access to. In the admin, all the main outer doors would be covered.
That's what I'm asking, the main outer door. How many main outer doors?
Are you talking interior or departmental?
Yes,
Yeah, 5 on the city hall side.
because you got city manager, 5? Okay,
Yeah, must.
I think you're off on that, but.
I'm confused.
No, we're dead on. It's 2 in finance, 1 in building, and 2 in admin. 5.
Okay, thank you. I think,
External.
Anybody else?
I just don't think that we need to do everything here. Because, you know what? It has to be run through a program too, a computer program, so that's another program we're gonna have to buy later too.
No, that is included in the cost of this, is our own in-house, the thing that runs it in-house.
The server,
It's not a server, it's a rack and it's actually accessible with the correct firewall settings over the internet to be monitored from anywhere within the building.
okay. I just don't think we need to do all of them.
Eugene?
My question is, we budgeted this for last year. You know what? I'm not in favor of maybe doing half of them. We did run in 2 incidents in the city. One, that we aren't even talking putting locks on this building at all. On our treatment plant, one night last year or the year before, or a couple of years ago, someone went in there and shut off a valve that could have made some major concerns on our treatment plant. And we had no clue who did that. Okay? Second off, if I'm mistaken, several years ago, we had a cleaning company in here, and the building department was missing some money off their desk. Okay? And am I right, Greg? We had an incident?
You're correct.
So the point is, having this system or having the cameras installed in the city hall is a security issue that I have with anyone getting into these doors. I mean, we got the cleaning company that's got the right with the keys and all that. But again, if this cleaning company goes out and they bring in a temporary cleaning outfit, someone that doesn't do the work every week in here, how do we count for that money missing, or how do we do that? The point is, this has been and you know what? This did come in a lot higher than I expected, no doubt about it. But we need to start thinking about securing our system here, securing our ball game here in the city here. And I'm not saying do all 61 doors, but maybe do your high-end doors for we don't have an incident again. Maybe doing the finance, maybe doing the building department that has confidential records that anyone could get into. The cleaning crew could come in and open any door down there and pull files out left and right. Providing that, I'm hoping they're locking the file cabinets up, I don't know. But I'm not saying do all the doors, but we need to start somewhere to securing our system here. Because there's a lot at stake here, so. Maybe do part of them.
Anybody else got any question? Mr. Woods?
I was just gonna echo what Alderman Wesley said. Maybe we could start with a little scaled back layout. I mean, as the city manager said, there's 5 main doors, you know, do those. If you got a room with a safe in it, that makes sense. The 2 going into the police area, you know.
Well, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to mention it, if that's the direction, maybe we could get an approximate number. These things are scalable, meaning if we, you know, go with this and do, I don't know, 20 doors initially or whatever it is. The current ones that are all electronic, if we're going to do this, we might as well do those right now. As far as the main lobby doors into the police department, we have some electronic access. Our evidence processing garage has some you know, electronic button that can be controlled there. If you'd like me to come back with a more scaled down version, I could try that too. And kind of identify those doors and see if that's appropriate. We do have all 61 identified, and there's things like locker rooms and stuff that we didn't include, but you know,
Okay,
hey,
Mr.
we're
Woods.
open to whatever seems
I was going to say, in an
appropriate.
effort to move it forward and not turn it into a huge exercise, maybe if the council would agree to just cut that in half and do a not to exceed whatever half of that number is, 42,000. That way, if you want to get 20, 30, you know, that would cover, you don't have to spend the whole 42. But, you know, that way at least you can move forward and, as opposed to having people come back and forth, creating plans, and then we're going to argue about, we don't like that plan, do this door instead of that door. You guys are better equipped to figure out which doors make more sense than we are. So I would make that in the form of a motion to approve the system for a not-to-exceed amount of $42,000. That's my motion.
There's a motion already on the floor.
Then I take mine back. Can we amend the motion that's on the
We
floor?
can make amends that he can check to see how much it's gonna cost to put in part of it. How's that? Is that okay? Is that okay with the second? Whoever said second? Mayor?
Well, I think you should give them a number so they know what to work with, instead of just say part of it.
Yeah, why don't we just have the original motioners amend for 42,000 not to exceed, and then we'll come back with the
42?
highlighted doors.
42,000?
What's in the CIP?
Make amends for
How much is in
42,000?
the CIP?
Who was the second?
What?
Oh, it was over. It
Who
was
seconded it?
60.
It's down there.
Did you,
Oh, I didn't say.
who seconded it?
Second what motion?
Second?
Somebody seconded it.
Christine did, I think.
Oh, right, we, Christine, to get the discussion going, correct.
Is that okay with you, Christine? They
Sure.
put $42,000 down to check for half of it?
I'm going to agree to amend it, but I do have a question on it.
All right.
Okay, that if we just arbitrarily cut it in half, isn't it that it's scalable, so the more you do all at once, the more cost effective it's gonna be, and we should really know what we're trying to do and then figure out the dollar amount? Aren't we cutting ourselves short by just saying 42,000?
Well, it was bid as a whole project. But in the bid process, we did mention something about the ability to scale it back if need be. So I guess what I would like to do with that is maybe, if we have that direction, go back to the company that won the bid and say, can we pare this down now? And maybe I wouldn't mind coming back to you with a final number and saying, this is the number we think that is the right amount that we need to get done now. And then maybe as part of next year's CIP, do another, you know, if we think we need another 8 doors or 10 doors, these are the ones we think we want to do. This is going to be the new cost. You know, I believe we can do that with council direction, once they've gotten the bid and we know what we want, right? So,
And just for instance, it would be nice if I had a fob to get in this door to access the council chambers, because sometimes we show up for a meeting and it's locked and that sort of thing. So is that something that would be in the plan as well?
Absolutely.
Like a fob for individuals to get in?
absolutely.
Okay.
Eugene?
One question, Jeff, maybe you can answer this question. What was in the CIP for this year for the system?
Well, 60 was the original budgeted amount a year ago in the CIP, 60,000.
What about this year? Did we budget for this year?
Believe it, Brad, the program wasn't listed in this year's CIP. It was a carryover from the year before, correct? Yeah, 60 grand.
Okay.
We could just come back to a future committee and not
Yeah.
have the amended in motion.
As a seconder, I'd prefer that, to just look at it at another committee meeting instead of doing the motion.
Then I'll table it.
Second.
How's that? We'll table it.
Either gotta kill the motion,
All right.
first
You can
motion.
table anytime.
We'll kill them.
Unless you withdraw the you can withdraw
I'll
the
withdraw
motion.
the motion and then table the rest. To what, 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now?
Next committee.
Next
Next
committee.
committee. That'll
Did I give
solve-
you enough time, Chief
That'll
Preston?
solve that problem. All right. I thought I did.
I second it.
Second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Report and recommendations for disposal of city-owned property. I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any questions? This is not the automobile. This is other stuff. Okay? Do I hear an okay?
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sorry, I got tongue-tied, which is nothing new. All right. Items to consider for future meetings, there is none, so I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We get out of here. Been here too long tonight. What we did, too long.
Isn't this the guy that...
From there.